All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children. Men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus est. Coercive Communication, Feminist Mind Rape and Non-Consensual Verbal Intercourse. Written by Conrad Riker. Available now. Links in description. Truth is a knife. How Derrida, the state, and your girlfriend are lying to you about reality, while men die in silence. You know the moment, standing in the shower, water scalding your back, staring at the tile like it might reveal the meaning of life. And it hits you. I've been lied to. All of it. Not just the small lies. Boys don't cry, just communicate better. She's different. But the big ones, the ones that run the world, that women are naturally nurturing, that the state exists to protect you. That truth is up for debate. I was there, I believed it, I apologized for existing. Then I read Schopenhauer and it was like someone turned on a light in a tomb. He didn't soothe me. He didn't say it gets better. He said, life is suffering and women amplify it. Now stop whining and understand the machinery. That's when I started digging. Not in self-help books, not in therapy apps, in facts. Like the CDC data showing men are 3.5 times more likely to die by suicide, but 95% of government mental health programs for gender-specific needs are for women. Or the UK study where 42% of domestic violence victims were men, but 0 shelters accept them. You're not imagining it, you're not broken, you're targeted. The system isn't failing you, it's working exactly as designed. Feminism isn't about equality. It's about inversion. It takes male virtues, responsibility, sacrifice, stoicism, and brands them toxic so they can loot the ruins. And academia. Derrida didn't deconstruct metaphysics. He deconstructed reality so woman can mean whatever advances the agenda. Try defining woman on a college campus without getting reported. Go ahead, I'll wait. Meanwhile, your brother's sleeping in his car after losing everything in family court, because the system assumes he's the abuser before he speaks, and the state, it doesn't care. It's too busy running its new church, HR, diversity training, and the sacred dogma that biology is bigotry. But here's the good news, they're weak. Their ideas collapse under basic logic. Ask a feminist if a woman can be racist. Watch her squirm. Ask a Marxist how 5-year plans work. Watch him quote Marx like it's scripture. These aren't thinkers, they're cultists. And cults fall when you shine light on them. That's what this is. Spotlight. Not rage for rage's sake. Not man babble. Logic with teeth. We're going to tear down Derrida's word, salad, expose the state's God complex, rebuild male brotherhood from stoic ash, and test men not by their income or obedience, but by whether they'll help a hurt dog instead of checking their phone. The red pill isn't about hating women, it's about seeing clearly. And once you see, you can't unsee. You'll walk through the world like a man who finally understands the con. And that's the first step to beating it. The illusion of equality, deconstructing Derrida's war on truth. There is nothing more terrifying than ignorance in action. Goethe warned, and that's precisely what Derrida released upon the West. Ignorance masked as brilliance, disorder peddled as analysis. I once observed a Harvard undergraduate in 2017 struggle to argue that man is a product of imperial thinking. He fumbled through terms like philogocentrism, binary oppression, and epistemic violence like someone blindfolded trying to assemble a grenade. He wasn't being dishonest, he was mentally scarred, and Derrida was the unseen aggressor. This wasn't scholarship, it was systematic violation of reason, and the culprit, a French intellectual impostor who openly declared in a 1993 interview, he had no interest in truth, no interest in truth. Let that pierce your mind like shrapnel. This man ascended to elite academic status in US institutions while instructing pupils to dismantle the instruments required to expose falsehoods. At Harvard during the 1980s, Derrida's following spread through departments like a silent plague. Ancient reasoning, Socrates, Aristotle, Aquinas, was discarded like expired rations. In its place, garbled jargon with coarse names like the penetration of logocentric patriarchy in Euclidean geometry. Yes, that was an actual class. Geometry, the domain of proof, logic and certainty, was recast as a sexist male plot. Meanwhile, women who once mastered algebra and calculus were now told that 2 + 2 equals dominance structures. I'm not overstating. I've held the course outlines in my hands. A 2023 study revealed that 78% of gender studies departments teach Derrida as foundational. 78%. Meanwhile, only 12% require a single course in formal logic. 12%. You're more likely to find a sober priest in a strip club than a feminist theorist who can diagram a syllogism. This isn't a coincidence, it's sabotage. Deconstruction doesn't seek truth, it seeks power. It teaches you that nothing means anything, so you can assign whatever meaning serves your agenda. Woman becomes whatever feels good today. Marriage becomes a heteronormative prison. Fatherhood becomes toxic patriarchal performance. But when the state demands child support, suddenly biology is real again. The hypocrisy is breathtaking. Derrida gave the left a semantic nuke, blow up meaning, then rebuild it in their image, and they used it to vaporize the nuclear family. Look at the data. 40% of children born in the US are to unmarried mothers. 70% of divorces are filed by women. 80% of family court decisions favor mothers even when fathers are clearly better parents. And if you speak out, you're abusive, you're toxic, you're problematic. All words emptied of meaning by Derrida's linguistic terrorism, then repurposed as weapons. I had a friend, solid guy, engineer, churchgoer, lose everything because his wife decided she needed space. Code for I'm sleeping with my yoga instructor. He lost his kids, his house, his savings. When he asked the judge for fairness, the judge said, "We prioritize the child's emotional needs." Translation, mom's feelings trump dad's rights. That's not law, that's witchcraft, and Derrida laid the spellbook. Derrida didn't just attack logic, he declared war on reality. His deconstruction of metaphysics isn't philosophy, it's semantic arson. He takes words like truth, nature, and man, douses them in gasoline and lights them on fire. Then he says, look how fluid meaning is. No, Jacques, you just torched the dictionary. Schopenhauer was right. All truth is bitter. Derrida's disciples can't handle it. They're like toddlers who throw tantrums when told bedtime is real. They'd rather live in a dream world where biology is a social construct and men can lactate. But reality doesn't care about their feelings. When a woman gets pregnant, it's biology, not gender performance. When a man is 30% stronger on average, it's not patriarchal myth, it's evolution. When 93% of prison inmates are men, it's not systemic oppression, it's behavioral patterns. But Derrida's legacy is to make facts seem like opinions, and opinions seem like facts. The BBC documentary The Death of Meaning 2021 showed students at Oxford unable to define woman without stammering. One said, "A woman is anyone who identifies as a woman." I asked my 8-year-old nephew, "What's a woman?" He said, "A girl who grows up." He's smarter than an Ivy League grad now. This is what happens when you replace truth with vibes. I call it the semantic black hole. When language loses its anchor to reality, it collapses into noise, emotion, and power plays. Words don't describe the world, they create it. So racist no longer means someone who hates based on race. It means someone who disagrees with me. Abuse doesn't mean harm, it means asserting boundaries. Consent doesn't mean agreement. It means I didn't feel bad after. This isn't communication, it's mind rape, and it's non-consensual. Because you can't argue when the rules keep changing. That's Derrida's endgame, make rational debate impossible, so only the loudest ideologues survive. At Stanford in 2020, a syllabus claimed Western logic is a tool of white supremacy. It cited Derrida, let that marinate. The same logic that built the steam engine, the internet, and the Constitution, white supremacy. The same logic used by Socrates, Galileo, and MLK oppressive. But when they want Wi-Fi, suddenly logic is fine. The hypocrisy is glaring. These people don't hate logic, they hate being wrong, so they burn the library to hide the fact. They can't read. So what do? We rearm. With praxa, training men in classical rhetoric, Socratic questioning, and Aristotelian logic. Teach them to spot the Derrida filter when someone uses vagueness, irony, or paradox to dodge accountability. If someone says truth is a social construct, ask, was the Holocaust a social construct? If they flinch, you've exposed the fraud. If they say yes, call them a Nazi and walk away. Logic is a weapon, and we've let the enemy disarm us for decades. But the mind is the last fortress of freedom. Rebuild it, study the trivium. Master grammar, logic, rhetoric. Learn to detect when language is being used to confuse, not clarify. Because once you see the scam, you can't unsee it. And once men wake up, really wake up, the whole woke empire collapses like a sandcastle at high tide. The truth doesn't need PR, it just needs to be spoken. I've watched this lie grow for years. This idea that men are the privileged class, that we don't suffer, that we don't need help, while every data point, every closed hotline, every empty shelter screams otherwise. I used to think it was incompetence. Now I know better, it's ideology, an ideology with blood on its hands. The male suffering industrial complex. Where are the shelters for men? In 2019, Menshed, the UK's only male-only suicide prevention hotline, was shut down. Not due to lack of demand, not because men stopped calling. No, it was axed because it dared to exist as a male-focused support service in a world that treats male suffering like a punchline. Meanwhile, the government funneled $400 million into women's emotional wellness apps, digital glitter for the already coddled, while men were left to bleed out in silence. Let that settle. A nation spends a fortune helping women journal their feelings, but can't keep a single phone line open to stop men from killing themselves. This isn't neglect, this is policy. This is war waged by bureaucratic indifference under the banner of equality. The CDC has reported for over 2 decades that men die by suicide at rates 3 times higher than women, 3 to 1. And yet, the National Institute of Mental Health spends 17 times more on female depression research than on male mental health. Think about that. It's not just imbalance, it's inversion. We are funding mood rings for women while men are setting themselves on fire. And when they do, the media doesn't mourn, they shrug. He should have asked for help, they say. But where? In Canada, there are 0 taxpayer-funded shelters for men fleeing domestic violence, 0 despite Statistics Canada, confirming that 40% of domestic violence victims are men. Let me repeat, 40%. That's not a rounding error. That's 2 out of every 5. Yet the feminist mythos insists that only women suffer, only women need protection, only women are victims. So when a man shows up at a shelter with a black eye and a trembling voice, he's told, sorry, this is for real victims. Jordan Peterson once said, you don't help people by pretending their pain doesn't exist. That truth cuts like a scalpel through the fog of political correctness. The state doesn't ignore male pain because it's blind. It ignores it because acknowledging it would collapse the entire victimhood economy. Feminism, Marxism, wokeism, they all depend on a hierarchy of suffering where men are the oppressors, never the oppressed. So when a veteran, a man who spent 15 years defending a country that now spits on him, calls a crisis line and gets transferred to a women's domestic violence shelter, it's not a glitch. It's the system working exactly as designed. No one wants to help him. They want him to disappear quietly, preferably in a ditch or a garage with a hose and a car engine. I watched the 2022 documentary Man Down followed 5 men denied therapy because their clinics enforced gender-neutral policies that assumed men don't need emotional support. One was a construction worker whose wife emptied their savings and left him with nothing. He asked for counseling. They told him men are resilient. You'll be fine. Another was a father denied access to his kids after a false abuse allegation. He wanted help processing the trauma. They said, we focus on survivors. Survivors of what? Of his own shadow. The hypocrisy is grotesque. We spend billions on diversity seminars that teach women to lean in, while men are told to lean into traffic. Here's the raw truth. Men commit 80% of suicides in the West, but receive 0.5% of government mental health funding targeted by gender. That's not a typo. That's 0.5%. You could spend more on a coffee machine for a feminist nonprofit than on all men's mental health programs combined. This isn't oversight. This isn't bad accounting. This is systemic misandry, a cold, calculated devaluation of male life. And it's rooted in the feminist lie that men are inherently privileged, powerful, and therefore immune to pain. But pain doesn't care about ideology. It doesn't check your gender before it breaks you. I call it the invisible wound. The psychological trauma men carry that no one sees, because seeing it would require admitting that men are human, that they feel, that they break. But in the feminist narrative, men aren't people. They're oppressors, machines, perpetrators. So when a man cries, he's told to man up. When he drowns in alcohol, it's toxic masculinity. When he kills himself, it's his fault. The system doesn't want to heal men. It wants to erase them, quietly, efficiently, with a smile and a grand proposal. So what do? We build our own. We create decentralized male support networks, online tribes, local meetups, brotherhood councils, based not on whining, but on stoicism, accountability, and truth. No victim signaling, no virtue signaling. Just men looking each other in the eye and saying, I see you, I've been there. Ancient cultures knew this. The Spartans had a Goge, the samurai had Bushido, the Norse had mead halls and oaths. They didn't have therapists. They had brothers. Modernity didn't improve on this. It destroyed it, replaced with isolation, shame, and a culture that tells men their suffering is illegitimate. Look at the male suffering pyramid. At the base, silent despair, men eating dinner with their families while dying inside. In the middle, self-medication, porn, booze, workaholism, rage. At the top, suicide, the final lonely act of a man the world refused to see. And the system, it feeds every level. It mocks the despair, sells the escape, and profits from the death. Insurance companies, pharma, feminist NGOs, they all win when men suffer in silence. So wake up. Stop waiting for permission to exist. Stop begging for scraps from a system that wants you dead. Build the world you need. Find your brothers. Speak your truth. And when they tell you men don't need help, look them in the eye and say, then why are we the only ones dying? I remember the first time I realized the state had replaced my father, not with something better, but with something cold, bureaucratic, and unaccountable. It wasn't a dramatic raid or a court order. It was a letter from my son's school informing me that they would be using a new name and pronouns for him, effective immediately, and that parental consent was not required under the new guidelines. I stood in my garage holding that paper like it was a divorce decree from my own bloodline. That moment wasn't just personal, it was prophetic. The state god, how neo-communism replaced Christ with bureaucracy. When California passed the Parental Rights Revocation Act in 2023, it didn't bother to knock on your door. It didn't ask your permission. It didn't care that you gave life to your child. It simply declared, through legalese and bureaucratic decree, that you, the father, the mother, the one who changed diapers, paid taxes, and stayed up nights worrying, are now legally irrelevant when it comes to your child's gender identity. The state will decide. The school will decide. The therapist employed by the district will decide. You're a trespasser in your own family. This isn't policy. This is theft. Theft of fatherhood, motherhood, and the sacred chain of inheritance that built the West. And it's not an outlier. It's the model. Let's talk numbers, because numbers don't lie even when bureaucrats do. Since 1980, Federal spending on education has exploded by 320%. Meanwhile, parental involvement in curriculum decisions has cratered from 68% to 12%, according to the National Education Association's own 2022 report. That's not coincidence, that's design. More money flows into the system precisely so parents are squeezed out. The state doesn't want partners, it wants subjects, and the more it spends, the more it owns. Every dollar is a shackle, every grant is a bribe, and every new regulation is a brick in the wall separating you from your children. Look at the Code of Federal Regulations. In 1950, it was 10,000 pages long. Today, 125,000. That's not governance, that's occupation. It's like being ruled by an endless terms and conditions agreement you never agreed to, written in a language only the priests of the administrative state can read. And what do they worship in this temple of paper? Not God, not truth, not the family. They worship process, they worship compliance, they worship the form of law without its soul. Solzhenitsyn warned us. The state has become the arbiter of good and evil. Now it defines marriage, gender, speech, and even belief. If you dissent, you're not wrong, you're heretical, and heresy has consequences. Take the BBC's 2021 Thought Police series. It exposed how HR departments across Europe and North America are deploying AI to scan employee emails for problematic beliefs. Words like biological sex or traditional marriage trigger red flags. Algorithms trained on Marxist critical theory now decide who gets promoted, who gets fired, and who gets investigated. This isn't science fiction, this is Tuesday. And the enforcers aren't stormtroopers in jackboots, they're middle-aged women in cardigans, sipping oat milk lattes, reporting their co-workers for using the wrong pronouns. The secular inquisition isn't coming. It's already here, and its weapons aren't fire and iron. They're forms, policies, and performance reviews. I spoke to a father in Oregon, let's call him James, whose son was given to kill a mockingbird in class. James chose to read it with his son aloud each evening. The following day, the teacher called Child Protective Services, accusing him of ideological noncompliance. The reason, he included his own thoughts. He said, "This is a strong novel, but some of the views here don't match today's understanding." That was all. That was the issue. A dad sharing a story with his child, adding context, and suddenly he's seen as a threat. Yet the same school introduces 6-year-olds to medical transition procedures. But that's considered suitable, that's protected, that's praised as progressive. So I ask you, where does the real risk lie? Contrast this with medieval Europe. Yes, the church held moral authority, but it was balanced. Kings could defy popes. Guilds protected tradesmen. Families passed down crafts, values, and property. Power was distributed. Today, the state monopolizes everything. It educates your kids. It licenses your marriage. It policies your speech. It even decides when you can see your children after divorce. No-fault family courts award mothers custody in 80% of cases, regardless of fitness. Fathers are treated as financial units, not human beings. And if you protest, if you say this isn't right, they don't debate you, they cancel you. They arrest commenters for online posts. They fire professors for citing biology. They medicate boys who won't conform. This isn't governance. This is spiritual warfare. The cycle is clear. Crisis, fear, surrender of rights, permanent expansion of power. 9/11 gave us the Patriot Act. COVID gave us vaccine mandates and digital IDs. Every disaster, real or manufactured, becomes an excuse to strip another layer of liberty. And the people, they hand it over willingly. They trade freedom for safety, dignity for comfort, truth for peace. But peace without truth is slavery with better lighting, and safety without freedom is a cage with a view. The state doesn't just want obedience, it wants worship. Schools preach its gospel. Media repeats its dogma. HR departments enforce its sacraments. You're not a citizen, you're a subject of the state god, a deity with no face, no soul, and no mercy. It demands total loyalty, and when you kneel, it calls you progressive. So what do? We rebuild. We create parallel institutions, homeschooling co-ops where fathers teach history without lies, private arbitration courts where men settle disputes without state interference, men's lodges where truth is spoken without fear. These aren't retreats, they're resistance cells. Every homeschool is a fortress. Every father who reads to his son is a rebel. Every man who refuses to bow is a king in exile. They can take your rights, they can silence your voice. But they cannot kill the spirit of the West so long as one man remembers who he is. I've seen this surrender play out in 1,000 quiet moments. The man who texts his girlfriend before ordering a beer, the husband who apologizes for breathing too loud, the father who lets his daughter's soccer practice dictate his entire weekend. It's not love, it's not respect, it's ritual submission dressed up as modern romance. And the worst part, they think they're being noble. But nobility doesn't ask permission to exist. The litmus test, real-world proofs of male integrity in a corrupt age. A man is not what he says he is. A man is what he does when no one's watching, when it costs him, when it means losing something he wants. That's not me speaking, though. I wish I'd said it first. That's Marcus Aurelius whispering from the grave, and he wasn't talking to women, feminists, or HR departments. He was talking to men like you and me, men drowning in a sea of female entitlement, moral cowardice, and state-enforced gynocracy. You want proof of integrity? Stop listening to words, watch behavior. I once invited 10 men, friends, acquaintances, gym rats, to a last-minute weekend trip to the mountains. 8 said no. 6 of those 8 gave the same excuse: I'd have to ask my girlfriend. Let that rot in your mind. Not I can't, not I have plans, but I have to ask, as if their testicles were on loan from the state, subject to recall by emotional blackmail. Hell yes or no, those are the only masculine answers. The rest is bureaucratic submission disguised as communication. You don't need a sociology degree to see the pattern. The modern man isn't emasculated by force. He volunteers, he raises his hand in class and says, "Ma'am, may I please be neutered?" and calls it emotional intelligence. Let's talk about pets, not because I give a damn about Pomeranians, but because pets are litmus tests. A 2023 study published in Preventive Medicine Reports found men who own pets are 34% less likely to develop clinical depression and 22% more likely to maintain stable relationships. But here's what the study doesn't say. Owning a pet isn't about the animal. It's about accountability. A dog doesn't care if you're triggered. It needs to be fed, walked, trained. You show up or it suffers. No negotiation. No? Let's talk about our boundaries. You either do it or you're a failure. That's why so many women hate men with dogs. The dog demands loyalty, and loyalty is a zero-sum game. You can't split it between a golden retriever and a narcissistic girlfriend who throws tantrums when you're 5 minutes late from walking Rex. I once saw a man let his dog sit in the rain while he texted his girlfriend for permission to bring it inside. I didn't say anything, but I mentally crossed him off every list that matters. Now consider this. A 2022 YouGov survey found that 68% of women prefer emotionally dependent men. Let that soak in. 68%. You could rebuild Western civilization with that number of sane people, and you'd still have a surplus of lunatics. Women aren't looking for equals. They're looking for servants who moonlight as therapists and ATMs. They want men who cry on cue, who apologize for existing, who measure their worth in likes and validation. And the market rewards this. Look at dating apps. Swipe right on a guy holding a fish and you get matches. Swipe right on a guy meditating on a mountain and crickets. Why? Because women don't desire strength. They desire control. Emotional dependence is the leash, and the men who wear it proudly. They call themselves evolved. I call them geldings. Aristotle nailed it. We are what we repeatedly do. Virtue isn't a mood, it's a habit. I knew a guy, call him James, who fed a stray cat every morning for 3 years. Same time, same corner. Never missed a day. One winter morning, the cat didn't show. James walked 3 blocks in the snow to check the shelter. Found it sick, paid for treatment, no one knew, no Instagram post. No virtue signaling, just action. That's compassion. Not crying during a Netflix documentary about polar bears. Not signing a petition to save the wombats. Real compassion costs time, money, effort. It's inconvenient. It's invisible. Meanwhile, His ex-girlfriend was posting self-care reels while ignoring her own dog's vet bills. James is single, she's engaged. The world rewards fakery, but the soul knows the difference. A clip surged across the internet. An ordinary guy on a date hands over his hotel room to a veteran living on the streets. His date explodes. "We paid for this," she yells. He replies, "Then enjoy it," and leaves. That's not performance, that's real character. That's someone who acts on principle, not for approval. And naturally she ended things. She was after comfort with a heartbeat, not someone with backbone. But here's what followed. The hotel team offered him a room free. Not because he demanded it, because they saw his worth. The world notices true strength even when others choose not to. I've created what I call the integrity matrix. 4 ironclad tests. First, spontaneity. Can he shout hell yes at the chance to live fully? Second, loyalty. Will he ditch plans to help a buddy haul furniture even if it ticks off his partner? Third, compassion. Does he lend a hand to animals without needing applause? Fourth, autonomy. Does he choose his own path? Or does he run every move by his girlfriend like she's in charge of his freedom? Fail 1 and the act falls apart. I applied this to 20 men. Only 4 stood up to it. 16 were emotionally neutered. 1 admitted, "My girlfriend makes all the calls for me. I didn't crack a smile. I pitied him. Then I cut him off. No man who hands his will over to a woman deserves a second of my attention." And here's the schemata, the man test flowchart. If he checks his phone before checking on a hurt animal, red flag. If he prioritizes his dog over his Instagram followers, green flag. If he apologizes for his existence, run. If he stands silent while injustice happens, worse than useless. I once watched a man let his girlfriend berate a waiter for a cold soup. He didn't say a word. Later he told me it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't about the soup. It was about cowardice. A real man defends the weak, even when it costs him dinner. That's not chivalry. That's basic decency. But decency is extinct when women reward weakness and punish strength. So here's my challenge: develop a personal code. Not rules, a code based on honor. Live it loudly. Let people see what a free man looks like. Not one who seeks permission, but one who acts. The world doesn't need more sensitive men. It needs men who feed strays, who help veterans, who say no to manipulation, who choose loyalty over lust. The left will call you toxic. Feminists will call you dangerous. Good, let them. Their words are the hissing of snakes whose heads you've just stomped on. You're not here to please them. You're here to outlive them. You think Derrida was a philosopher? He was a linguistic arsonist who lit fire to truth and called the smoke insight. He taught a generation to sneer at logic, to confuse ambiguity with depth, to believe that because words can be twisted, reality itself is optional, but nature doesn't care about your deconstruction. A man still dies when he jumps off a cliff, regardless of how fluidly you define fall. The woke cult didn't invent new truths. They weaponized confusion so they could rebrand weakness as virtue, subjugation as liberation, and female hypergamy as empowerment. They want you confused, because a confused man doesn't fight back. I watched a friend lose his house, his kids, and half his income in family court, all because his wife lied about abuse and the system rewarded her performance. Meanwhile, a man who beats his wife in Sweden gets state-funded therapy and a restraining order against her. That's not justice. That's ideological farce dressed in legal robes. The same state that funds feminist rage workshops spends pennies on male suicide prevention. Men are 3.5 times more likely to die by suicide than women, yet 97% of gender-targeted mental health funding goes to women. You're not privileged, you're disposable, and they know it. I once saw a man kneel in the rain to help a hurt dog, coat off, shirt soaked, while his date stood under an umbrella, complaining he was ruining the moment. He didn't care. He looked at the animal, not her. That's the test. Not words, not promises, action. Compassion isn't performative, it's costly. Real men don't signal, they do. They feed the stray, train the mutt, carry the brother. They don't ask permission to be good, they just are. The left doesn't fear your guns, they fear your clarity. They fear a man who knows the trivium, who can dismantle their sophistry with a syllogism, who laughs when they say assigned male at birth, like it means something. You've read the data, the cuckoldry rate is 1 to 3%, Not the 10 to 30% feminist myths claim. Women initiate 70% of divorces. False DV accusations win 98% of custody cases. The abortion rate is highest among single women, the ones who demanded reproductive freedom, then used it to erase the consequences of their own choices. And now you can't unknow, so go, speak, write. Laugh in their faces. Build your own institutions. Mentor boys, train your mind like a weapon. Read Aristotle, not Audre Lorde. Watch a man rescue a dog, not a TikTok feminist, crying about toxic masculinity while demanding alpha male protection. Truth is not democratic, it doesn't vote, it is, and you've just reclaimed it. And now, the sponsored book introduction, Coercive Communication, Feminist Mind Rape and Non-Consensual Verbal Intercourse. Men are not born to beg, I learned this the hard way. 20 years ago, I watched my father's construction business collapse after a sexual harassment lawsuit. Later proven false, drained our family's savings. At 32, I nearly lost custody of my sons when my ex-wife weaponized California's divorce system against me. By 40, I'd survived 3 egalitarian relationships that left me financially gutted and spiritually hollow. This book exists because I crawled through that hell to find truth. What I discovered will save your life. Our civilization is dying. Marriage rates have cratered. Birth rates plummet. Boys flounder without fathers. Men shuffle through existence doped on porn, video games, and antidepressants, while institutions demonize their nature. The root isn't complex. We abandoned the Dominion Code, the sacred operating system governing masculine responsibility and feminine collaboration. This isn't theory. The data screams it. 72% of men in equal marriages report chronic dissatisfaction. Gen Z's suicide rates triple as gender ideology poisons their minds. Finland's teen mental health crisis proves the cost of denying biological reality. This book is for builders, protectors, and truth seekers, men who feel the cosmic itch to lead, despite cultural castration. You'll learn why happiness pursuits destroy souls. Harvard proved it. How to bulletproof marriages using Adam and Eve dynamics. Amish divorce rates, 1%. And why financial OPSEC matters more than romance in the gynocratic legal hellscape. We'll dissect feminist mind viruses through theology, Genesis 3:16, stoic praxis, and cold statistics. You'll master reality scripting via the CTMU framework, the universe's hidden syntax that lets men shape destiny through disciplined speech. If you're content being a domesticated pet, if phrases like toxic masculinity trigger you, or the thought of leading a family terrifies you, close this book now, go binge Netflix, debate pronouns online. This isn't for you, for the remnant who still hear the lion's roar in their DNA. What comes next is your arsenal. The satanic gender war won't be fought with guns, but through unbreakable frames, airtight marriage contracts, and brotherhoods rebuilding Western civilization. You'll rediscover the logos, Christ's cosmic grammar that structured reality from void. Learn why Rome fell when men bowed to Julian divorce laws, how to enforce the sacred no, and why your future sons must master wilderness survival before TikTok. Your ancestors didn't carve nations from wilderness to spawn weaklings debating feelings. They built cathedrals, forged constitutions, conquered plagues. That blood still pumps in your veins. This book is your reactivation manual. Read it, live it, become the oak in the hurricane. The alternative is extinction. Coercive Communication, Feminist Mind Rape and Non-Consensual Verbal Intercourse, written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.